Okay, it's 12 o'clock and hello everyone. Welcome to this month's Xero Ecosystem Expert webinar. Today we're going to be going through the updates that on the systems that I cover that happen throughout the December month. And if you read my newsletter at the end of that month, you'll know that yes, about the 12th of December, I was in a cold sweat going, oh my gosh, how am I going to find the time? The software companies were just going great guns with their Christmas gifts and all the new updates. There's actually been none at all this month so far, so yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better about that. So that's what we're going to go through. For those of you that don't know me, I am Jeri Murphy, obviously. Well, you've known that part, but you should know some of my background as to why, that's probably why you signed up to doing what I do. So I'm here to teach you what I can about the updates that have happened in those systems. And at the end of this session, we do have, or you have the chance to ask any questions throughout the session as to, so write the questions. If you've not used GoToMeeting before, there's a chat box in the bottom of the GoToMeeting panel. So when you've logged on to here today, there's a chat box. You can type a question to me at any time. I don't cover any of the questions unless I really have to during the session. I leave them and close it down, focus on what I'm doing, and then I come back and answer the questions at the end of the session. You can ask me any other questions about basically anything to do with Xero or any of the other add-ons or the key add-ons that I know well. You can ask those questions as well, and again, we'll cover them off at the end of the session. The session should take about 40 to 45 minutes to get through the content. There's lots of little things today, not too much detail, but lots of little things. So I'm going to go through all of those and then give you as much question time at the end as I can. Do you have, well, first of all, I did check with a few others that were on before. Please confirm that you can see me. Well, I'm going to turn the webcam off in a minute, but that you can see the screen with the Xero ecosystem slide on it, and also that you can hear me clearly. If you can do that, excellent, thank you. All right. Whoops, one too far. Okay, so I just sort of explained that, how this webinar works. We review and demonstrate all of the updates that were outlined in the newsletter at the end of the month. And then now we're 2 weeks later, we're going to go through and do a live demonstration of how they work. And for each of those updates, I try and focus on giving you the key things that you need to know about the update in order to sell it, use it, and train it. The whole idea for running this webinar came from the fact that when I was working with Unleashed, or when I was really busy in my accounting firm that I ran 100% Xero, I didn't have the time to keep up with all the updates. So I needed someone to be able to quickly tell me if I needed to know about the update. If I did need to know about the update, what did I need to tell my customers? How is it going to benefit them? And how do I use it? So that's the purpose of what we're doing here, and that's what I'm trying to give to you. All right, so the first update that we had we'll tackle Xero first. So we have Xero emailing the files into Xero. So the previous month, Xero had issued the files library within Xero, where you could upload one or multiple documents into Xero, and then they enabled you to be able to email the files into Xero. If you haven't used it yet, I actually hadn't used it until, I was playing around with it for the session today. I'd worked out how to do it, but hadn't bothered to test it. And today I did it, and I emailed an email in that had 8 images on it. And I was expecting it to take, 5 minutes. It was instant. So you email, get an email address. I'll show you how to do that in a second. And then it emails it straight into the system. All right, so let's have a look at how it works. Okay, so when you're in your client's Xero file, you go to Settings and to Files. I'm pretty sure, let me know if you're a business. I talk always on these calls as if I'm talking to accountants and bookkeepers, and obviously cloud integrators is the new term out there for people that are using these systems that aren't one of those. But let me know if you're just a direct business owner. I'm pretty sure I know most of you are accountants and bookkeepers, but let me know. Okay, so when we go to Settings and then Files, this is the Files library, and then there is this email address here. So send files to this email address. That's the email address you need to enter into the to box on your email, and then all of the attachments from within that email will be uploaded into the files library. You can also click on this little link here, and that gives you the VCF file. So to put it straight into your contact database to save onto your into your contacts. But if not, you can just right click on the link and copy the email address and save it into your contacts in your Gmail or however else you may do it. So that's all you need to do. You just need to take that email address, and then when you email those files in, they upload it straight away into your inbox, this inbox in here. All right. So the next one that Xero made available was being able to add an image via the webcam. Now, I don't know if you remember the blog that went out about this, but the blog had the picture of Adam Tukely, one of I think he's the product manager, or at least, yeah, it's high up in the product development at Xero, had a picture of him, obviously, there. And it took me a while to actually get my head around how you would use this. Sorry, just dropped something. How you would use this solution, because obviously you don't need to take a photo of the person, and you can't take a photo of the screen. It's not about taking a photo of the screen. It's about taking a photo of something that you would generally take a photo of, say a receipt with your iPhone, and then you would upload it. Then you would usually take a photo on your phone, and then you would email that photo to your email addresses, and then you would email it onto Xero, or download it and then upload it into Xero. So you don't need to do that, because you can just take the photo of whatever it is straight away with your webcam. Now, I'm not going to show you how to do it in Xero, simply because I have a lot of things running on my computer right now, and if I try and activate my webcam with that, I'm worried that I'm going to break everything else that's happening in relation to this webinar and all of the things it's recording. So I'm going to show you two things. One is how to do it. So first of all is settings and files, we're in the same spot, and you go to take photo. When you click that link, it then comes up with a little box that with a little, it's the twirly thing when it's thinking, when it's loading, to activate your webcam, and it straight away comes up with a picture of your webcam. Now, you have to be using Chrome or Firefox. Big thing to note is that if you click it and it just keeps on spinning, there's a pop-up blocker generally up the top. I've obviously got pop-up blockers turned off all the time on my computers, because the Xero and Unleashed and everything don't work well with pop-up blockers on. So you need to turn the pop-up blockers off at all times anyway. But this take a photo button, the webcam needs you to you need to allow Xero to use the webcam. So when you've hit the take a photo button, you get, if you've never used it before, you'll get the spinny thing, and then you have to allow give access. There's a little pop-up that comes up at the top bar to give you access to be able to use the webcam, and then it opens up. The other thing is, when your webcam is active and Xero has access to your webcam, a little red dot comes up over the top of the Xero circle up in the top tab. So yeah, just know that that's what that little red dot is up there. And then when you get out of the file section and click to another section, that little red dot goes away and your webcam stops being used. Okay, so that's things I learned from using that setup. Now I'll just show you in the Help Center. There's obviously, as always, Xero always does, they take you through how to take a photo in Xero. And this is the picture that sort of brought it all together to me as to how you actually use this. So you're holding the copy of the invoice that you can't scan for whatever reason in front of the camera, and then take photo it that way. I'm sure there's other options. I can't think of too many right now, but that's obviously one. Instead of you taking a photo with your phone, then sending it to yourself and then emailing it into Xero, or downloading and uploading into Xero, you can just take a photo straight away and it gets attached into the files library. All right, I hope that helped bring some clarity of how to use that system, and also why you would use that system. Okay, search by contact for delivery address was the next one. When I first read this one, they're all such little things, but they do mean quite a lot in terms of the efficiency and the processes. And for some people, it just doesn't mean anything to some, and obviously some to others. So The search by contact for delivery address. This is related to purchase orders because purchase orders are obviously the documents that have delivery addresses in Xero. So the purpose of this, for me, I found the biggest, reason why you would bother wondering about this feature is that it means that you can enter another warehouse or a customer address into the system faster. So let me show you that. So if we go to accounts and then purchases, scroll down the bottom, that's where we find our purchase orders. So here's a purchase order that I did earlier, but I'm just going to open a new one. All right, so let's say we're going to create a purchase order for Bayside Wholesale. Okay, so there's our purchase order entered, and we come down here to the delivery address. Before we had the option of add new address or add a one-off address. Now this address here is the address of of my company. So I'm placing the purchase order and I want Bayside Wholesale to deliver 40 white golf balls to me. So it comes up with this address here. Now the purpose of the search by contact search from contacts is if let's say I have another warehouse, maybe I'm based in Sydney and I have another warehouse in Melbourne and I'm placing the purchase order, I want it to go to the Melbourne warehouse. So you could save the Melbourne warehouse in as a contact and then therefore their physical address is loaded in here and you can just select from search from contacts the Melbourne warehouse and it'll pick up that address. The other thing that you may find useful is that you want to be able to pick up the address of a customer, because maybe this good is being drop shipped. Maybe the 40 golf balls are not going to you as you're buying them and then you're sending them straight to the customer. That's what drop shipping is. So I'm going to hit search from contacts. I'm going to type in warehouse 1. Could be a customer address, but once I select warehouse 1, I then get my physical address for warehouse 1 and I hit use this address. So then we have the address entered in as to where you want those goods being sent to, and it's not the standard address that you'd usually use. So that's what searching for the contact is about. Okay, so I'm now going back to my slides again. Okay, so the next one was the ability to use inventory items on cash transactions. So what this means is when you are in a transaction, in a spend and receive money transaction, you can now use inventory items. So as a standard, I believe this is all about setting the system up so that it can, it's one of those functions that it needs to be able to do for when they release light inventory. So I'll just go to the bank account. Okay, so let's just say this transaction here, we've got $4,500 of money that's going out. We're going to hit add details. That's going to open the spend money screen. As you can see, we now have here spent as direct payment. And let's say we want to change this amount. It's saying that you want to put one of $4,500 to an account. If that's what you wanted to do, you could. But let's say that this was for 4,500 golf balls at $1 each. So we'll pick that one. And well, actually, no, let's do it this way. Let's make my example harder for myself. Let's do 4,500 divided by 420. And then delete off the top line because we didn't need that one. And therefore, if we were selling those golf balls at $4.20, then we'd have 1,071.42 golf balls. So being a bit tricky there, showing you in case you missed out a few months ago, the ability that you can now use that use those calculator features within the screens here. So $4.20 plus 1. So just in case you didn't know that that existed, just wanted to make sure you knew that. So here we go, we're talking about inventory items. You've now got the ability to put inventory items in here. We all know that right now Xero is not built for an inventory system because you can't run a stock on hand report, you can't calculate cost of goods sold, you can't do multiple warehousing or anything like that. So inventory items are generally there just to help you increase the ability to enter in data quicker. So if you were selecting that item, it just gives you all the text and all the information that you need to be able to enter. That's what inventory items are really about. You can run a report that says that you have sold a number of items during a particular period and purchased a number of an item during the particular period, but you can't get a stock on hand report or any other details that you generally need to know with an inventory system. But now that this feature here exists, that means that basically Xero's getting themselves all ready to do the inventory module that it will do what the inventory module needs to do when they release light inventory. Okay. All right, there was two other little things that Xero released in the month, and that was filtering customer statements and the reference field on bank transfers. So I'll just quickly show you what they are. So basically just picking any transaction here in the transfer tab, there's now this reference field. So if money has been transferred and the reference is in the bank statement, Xero will try and autofill that reference there for you and pick up the transactions. It will actually put the reference from the bank statement in there for you. If it doesn't do it, you can now type it in and have a reference that you can see on both sides of this transaction and in the other bank account. As you know, the only bank accounts that appear in the transfer list and the only accounts you can put these transfers to are the other accounts that are actually bank accounts and credit cards and in Xero. Okay, so that's the reference field, and what was the other one? Filtering customer statements. So I go to accounts and then sales and go send statements. There's now this box up here where I can filter my statements by contact, email, or postal address. That wasn't an option before. Now you can. Okay. All right, but wait, Xero still had more. They had the ability to, well, they had the ability to prepare a taxable payments annual report previously, but they've improved on that. I haven't actually gone into too much detail on it because it's just not something I have to do that much. They improved, for those of you that want to know more about the taxable payments annual report, in Australia it's a report that in the building industry they have to do to report the amount of money that they've paid to different contractors. And if you go to help.xero.com and look up the taxable payments report, or go to reports and then find the taxable payments report, it's down in the bottom right hand corner, you can then hit get help on this page and it will take you to the full details of how to prepare one. The other things that they did that Xero released at the same time in early December was improvements to the check printing in the US and the alignment on the check printing, and they also did payroll in the US. I made a decision a couple of weeks ago to not bother learning that and passing that on because simply it's just too much to know, and being an Australian, I don't need to know about the US payroll system really. I am looking to get when there is big releases in the US, I'm looking to get one of the US partners to join us on this call each month for any of the major US updates that are only relevant to the US market, for those of you that have joined us from the US. So because I won't do it justice. I won't give you what you need to know to be able to do that. So But as you know, Xero have provided plenty of videos and information on how to do each of those things. Okay. So that was Xero. As you know, we touch on Unleashed and GeoUp and Vend as well in this session. Just in case you missed the newsletter, I do now cover Receipt Bank and Shopify. Shopify, the e-commerce solution. Receipt Bank haven't had any updates for a while, and speaking to them yesterday, they won't have any more until around March, April. They'll have some further updates coming. So as soon as I know about it and the world knows about it, I will tell you, and I'll give you the details in this session. Shopify has had an update this month since the 1st of January. Can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I'll tell you in my newsletter at the end of this month if Shopify is one of those systems that you want to know about as well. Obviously, it's one of those simple e-commerce solutions that Xero users like to use to keep everything simple. It will be an even more powerful solution once Xero has inventory on its own, because Shopify can obviously link and Xero can help manage the inventory with the light inventory. All right, but when we're talking about clients that have big amounts of inventory and need a more powerful inventory solution, then that's generally when we look at Unleashed. So Unleashed is the one I know well currently, and let's go through the 3 major updates that they had during December. This one was the long-awaited setting date formats. Now, previously in Unleashed, you could only get the day, month, year format that we use here in Australia and you obviously use in New Zealand. That date format was not able to be changed. So for all the US users that were using Unleashed, they had to use our format. So they've now enabled that to change. So I'll show you how that works or where you do it. All right, so we're in Unleashed. We go to Settings and then Company. And over on the far right-hand side, there's this date format box that wasn't there previously. So we've now got this date format box, and there's your 4 choices of the different formats. And it gives you a example below it. So once you've updated the date format, you just hit save, and all the historical transactions get changed with that date format as well. A big one that I picked up on, just knowing the Unleashed document designer well, is if you're picking a date that is longer, maybe you've had this one and then now you're picking a longer date, just have a look at your date fields on your document designer and make sure they were big enough to be able to fit the text that's now there, because you're writing the actual month instead of just putting some numbers there. So just be aware of that. Okay. That's setting the dates using product images. So Unleashed now has the ability for you to load 1 image per product. It's available on all the versions, and just so that you know, the images don't print on the invoices or the quotes. You can't, that function doesn't exist. That's one that a lot of people usually want, to be able to send out a quote to their customers with the pictures. If you do have a client that needs to be able to send out quotes with pictures, let me know, because there's another add-on solution that's not with Unleashed but with Xero, that where you're sending quotes, that I know where you can send some pictures and things and still do quotes in Xero. So just keep that thought in mind and let me know if you need someone that needs to send quotes with pictures. Often a common one with art designers or architects and things like that. Okay, so let me show you how the product images work. If you saw my monthly newsletter, you would have known that at the same week that this came out, I also had a Monday motivational blog about cheerleading and the fact that do you have a cheerleader? Do you have the support that you need behind you? Obviously, not so much business, well, yes, business related, but one of those sort of more personal development things that I like to do. So at the same time that I was writing this lesson, I'd also written the cheerleader lesson. So I had the picture of the Xero colored cheerleader on my computer, which is what I use for the lessons. So I'm going to show you the image here. So you know that backstory if you read my newsletter, and you now also know that backstory, but you'll feel for me a couple of days ago when I went to do an Unleashed product demonstration with this product file, and I hovered over the image button and to a room full of people in a boardroom, and my product image was a cheerleader. So yes, I get the chance to explain it this time. I had to quickly explain it to the people when I did it the other day. So that yes, that was a lesson learned. Anyway, so here we are with our product image that's been loaded to the animal product. So we've got animal product code, and we've got the image there. Because the image has been loaded to that product, I get the little camera and I get the little hover image. If you don't have a product image loaded, you don't get the camera. So you know that there's no product listed. So how do we get that image in there? Let's go into the product. And you'll see at the end here, there's now a tab called image. So you select that, and then you can upload a new picture or delete the existing picture. The other place that you can see this, let's go to the invoice. I'll just quickly add in another invoice. And I'll select my product. And here, just by hovering over just by starting to enter the product in, I can again get this product image to pop up if I want to hover over it. So people can use it in order to work out to check that they've got the right product. So yeah, that's usually the most common reason why they would want to do that, because you can't print it off, but it's just ensuring that they're selecting the right product for the people that are here. And then obviously if you're using Unleashed on an iPad or something like that, and you're standing there with you're a sales rep standing there entering in an invoice for someone, then you can show them the image as well if you want to. All right, so that's that one. Okay, the next one is that Unleashed now enables you to code stock adjustments. So you can assign an expense account for a stock adjustment. The benefit is that it enables you to be able to track damaged goods, samples being issued, any other reason why you have a stock adjustment. You can now code it to a different account. Previously, you could only code it to, you couldn't choose, and it went to cost of goods sold. So let me go to inventory and stock adjustments. And I'm going to go to add adjustment, top right hand corner. Select my product. Say I need to get rid of 5. So I'm going to -5 and select add. You'll see up the top here that I'm doing it for the main warehouse. My reason in this case is just adjustment, because I haven't put any other reasons in there, but I suggest putting reasons in like damaged goods, samples, things like that. And then the account, it defaults to cost of sales, which is where it's always gone, but you have the choice to put it to somewhere else. So I'd suggest having an account, say 301, which is damaged goods. A damaged good, say this 5 animal shapes being squashed by someone with a forklift, is damaged goods. It's not a cost of sale. It's the loss of goods and the loss of the value of your stock on hand based on the fact that someone ran it over with a forklift. So it's therefore damaged goods, and you would have an expense account, say 301, for damaged goods. Now this chart of account that shows here is exactly what is in your Xero file. So you need to, if you need to put things to damaged goods, the first step is go to the Xero file, add the account, then come into your settings in Unleashed and go to the Xero configuration and hit load accounts, and then it will bring the new chart of accounts back into here. So then you can select it here. So if you have added it into Xero and you can't see it in this list, you need to go to load accounts in the Xero configuration within the Unleashed settings. So I'll just show you. Settings, Xero configuration. You have to hit this load accounts button on the middle there in order to get to the new accounts to come across. And then when you, as soon as you hit complete on that stock adjustment, a stock journal goes into Xero, gets pushed into Xero by Unleashed. It goes in as a draft payable bill, which is a stock journal. The bill itself equals 0, so there's nothing actually payable, but what it does is that journal debits, well, in our case, damaged goods, and credits stock on hand. So takes the goods out of the stock on hand on the balance sheet and puts them into damaged goods on the profit and loss. All right. Okay, so now we're shifting into GeoUp. GeoUp is the online job management system. They had 3 major updates. The 2 easiest ones to show you. The third, I'll show you these 2. The one I'm not going to go into detail is that you can now have tax inclusive pricing. So there's plenty of details on there as to how to convert people from tax exclusive to inclusive. It's really just changing setups and things. So just know that that's now available. But let's get stuck into the 2 ones that I can show you feature-wise. Okay, so the first one is using customizable templates. So you can add a new template, or you can, by copying, or you can do one from scratch. You can have default and custom templates. And just to mention here that you can use iAuditor for custom fields and forms. Just keep that in mind for a second, because if you haven't seen GeoUp, I'll just explain some things when we get in there. All right, so GeoUp here. All right, so this is GeoUp, and in order to set up my document template, which is obviously going to show to me how to, before you didn't have a choice of how your invoice looked, or your purchase order, or anything looked when it came out of GeoUp. Sorry, not your invoice, your job sheet, because your invoice is produced by Xero. Your job sheet and your purchase order, you didn't have a choice as to what it looked like. It only came out in one format. It was quite a nice format, but you didn't have a choice. Now you do. So let's go to Settings and Document Templates. So in my document template here, I've got my default templates where I've got a job sheet, a quote, and a purchase order. And then I have my custom templates, which is a job sheet with a status. So the way that it works is, as a standard, your GeoUp file has a GeoUp logo here. I just had a Xero image available, so I chucked that in. Better that than the GeoLeader. This usually shows up with this GeoUp. Just know, because it took me a while to work it out, that when you load up an image, sorry, if you're using the GeoUp image, if it's the GeoUp image here that is loaded automatically, then it's not going to show on your PDFs when you print it out. You need to be able to you need to be loading up another image, like the actual company's image. You don't do it in here, you do it in the company's account settings, but you need to, the GeoUp logo that shows here that looks like it should print off, won't print off with your PDF. So make sure you upload another picture to be able to see what a logo is going to look like on these documents when you preview it as a PDF. All right, so then as we go down, you can see here that all of these gray fields, they're all movable. You can move them around as much as you want, and you can add your different, delete them off, add new ones, and yeah, just do a whole lot of things in here. I haven't gone into detail as to how to do it. Because of the way it's set up, it's quite similar to the Unleash one. It's very powerful, but at the same time, it's going to be fiddly to get using. So once you do a good template, then yeah, obviously keep copying from that template to be able to use it. Don't bother starting from scratch. So you just move those fields around, and everything's based on that. Plenty of videos in there. On the right hand side, you'll see this is the standard sheet as it exists now, and then on the right hand side you've got all these other panels. You've got a text editor, a data panel, columned data panel, and a table, line break, a whole bunch of options here. So it's all there for you to do. It's going to take some time to learn the different things, and GeoOp's given you plenty of videos on how to do that. So probably the key one is so that you don't start from scratch, because if you go to add new, it's just going to give you a blank template, just like I've done now, when that means you do drag things in and do what you need to do. What I find with that scenario is that sometimes people forget to add important things, forget to add an invoice number box, or forget to add a phone number or the ABN, something like that. So I always work off a basic template and then change and delete things once I've got sort of more than enough. Yes, so that's how you add a new one, is just hit add new. But if I want to add a new job sheet based on the original job sheet, you press this little document button. You hover over job sheet, go to the top right hand corner, and it says copy job sheet, and you can just hit that, and the copy of the job sheet comes down here into the custom templates, which you can then rename. And amend as you need. Okay. All right. I'll leave that one. All right, what am I doing next? All right, so we've gone through, okay. So I wanted to come back to the point of iAuditor. So with the GeoUp templates, what the assumption is that's made when you see customizable templates in GeoUp, you think that you can then go and basically create a standard form with all of the, what's the best way to explain it? Okay, a pool cleaner goes to goes to a job, and because they're a pool cleaner, they need to record the pH of the water at the job, and they need to record the quantity of, you can record the quantity of parts that you use already in GeoUp. Let's just say the pH of the water. They need to record the pH of the water of the job at that particular time. They put it in as notes, but if they want to record it as another field that they can then report on, you can't do that, and you can't make that field available within the GeoUp templates. You can in order to print it off, but it's not a mapped field within GeoUp itself. So what people have done in the past before customizable templates, and they will want to still continue to do, is there is an add-on to GeoUp or another solution called iAuditor, which is a completely customizable questionnaire type sheet. It's used like a safety checklist. So imagine being a safety OH&S workplace auditor and walking into a factory and ticking all the boxes saying yes, no, they've done this stuff or they haven't. It's built for that, but a lot of people use it because it integrates with GeoUp to be able to take all the GeoUp fields out and then add all these other little bits and pieces that they need to know, those custom fields. They can record that in iAuditor and use that extra information. There's plenty of things on the GeoUp website about iAuditor and how it works. So people will still be using iAuditor for that particular reason, but you can now make some changes to the template within GeoUp with the customizable templates that they've given you. All right, the next one GeoUp did was the bulk job importer. So it's the ability to get the jobs in faster. As with all imports, rubbish in, rubbish out. So it's based on CSV file. I'll show you how it works. As I said, as with all, make sure that the data that you're putting into any system is clean, and especially one with GeoUp, which is supposed to be as inventory is, but either way, it's a job system that's telling you exactly what you need to go and do now, what your staff need to go and do, where they need to go. It needs to be right. You can't have a whole bunch of sort of, invalid jobs sitting in the system as to what's doing next. It would just create complete and utter mess, which is probably a reason why GeoUp didn't have to bring out the bulk job importer, because they've generally been in the space where people come from not having a job system to then starting to use a job system. But my guess is there's a lot more people that are coming from using other job systems and that are now moving into migrating over to GeoUp, so therefore they need a bulk job importer. Let me show you that. So let's go into GeoUp. All right, so in GeoUp, if we go to jobs and then CSV import, you can download the sample CSV file. if you've used CSV files in Xero, it's the same concept of how to complete a CSV file in the Excel. You have to make sure you save it as a CSV format and then come back and import it back into the system once it's entered. I haven't actually used this one, but just as a standard, usually never delete out columns because they need to be there for the system to recognize it when it comes back. Don't use commas within the name or within a field. So if I wrote here John, comma, F, and then Smith, then because it's CSV stands for comma separated file, the system, when GeoUp tries to read it, is going to read that comma as a new field, and all these fields will shift across and it will break. So don't use commas when you're dealing with comma separated files. All right, all of the information there about the job can be entered in. They haven't marked out the required fields, so I haven't bothered looking, but I'm assuming in the support section they've gone through and marked out what fields are required. If you've used GeoUp a lot, you'll know what fields are required anyway. If they haven't given you that information, when you've got this template open, just go in and open a new job as if you were entering it in on the screen, and then the required fields are marked on the job screen itself. So you'll know which ones you need to use. All right, I'm going to close this one. Oh, actually, I just realized you haven't been able to see my CSV that whole time, I don't think. Sorry. Okay, let me quickly show you that again. So I had the CSV file open on my other screen. So here we go, job sheet import. We've got the CSV file here. It opens in Excel. What my example with the commas was, don't do this, where we do John, comma, F, because commas aren't liked in a CSV file because that's how the information gets picked up. So don't do that. And usually in these CSV files, you get a little star up the top that marks off the required fields. And I just noticed there that there isn't one here. So yeah, okay, that's a CSV file. And once you've completed a CSV file, you choose the file from wherever you saved it and then hit import and all your jobs will come in. All right, so our final solution, and I'm sort of on time, which is exciting, is Vend. So Vend had one little update, which was actually, it's a little one on the face of it, but then when I was dealing with something with a client the other day, I realized it's actually huge. So Vend gave you the ability to remove single taxes in the cell screen. So it's great for being able to delete multiple taxes and also great for export sales. So it gives you greater flexibility and accurate taxes. So I'll show you what it means. All right, so we're now in Vend. This is the sell screen of Vend. So let's sell a t-shirt. And I'll sell a coffee as well. Okay, so what we've got here is we've just added these items to the sell screen as normal. Now I'm going to hit down the bottom, I'm going to hit this tax hyperlink. So what I've done is the coffee doesn't include tax in my settings. It doesn't include GST, but the t-shirt does. Yes, that's the way I've done it, but the t-shirt does. So we've now got two different types of taxes on here that are available. So if you remember back in, I don't remember what month, maybe October, maybe it was November, I don't know, a couple of months ago, Vend issued the ability to be able to add multiple taxes. Now that's not a big deal, and it wasn't a big deal to us here in Australia because we just have the GST, we don't have multiple taxes. So but I read a lot about the issues that people were having in places such as Canada. In Canada, I don't actually know what they stand for, I apologize, but in Canada they have PST and HST. So one of the problems that they had, and this is probably them jumping up and down is the reason why these removing the taxes was put in, is that some clients were charged PST and some were charged HST on a sale, and then for some reason some clients are not charged one of those, let's say the HST. So on each sale, person, when they know that they're not required to, the customer's not required to pay HST, then they would delete off the HST. So when you have it set up that way with those two different types on all of the items, then you can just delete off which one you don't need. So there's plenty in the support, I think in the support forum was where I found the detail about that. So you can delete off one particular type of tax if you want to. So let me just delete that one off. No, I'm going to do this. Put the t-shirt on. All right. Okay, so that's one example. You can have multiple taxes and you can delete one off by clicking on that screen. Now, the other reason why, and this is the big one that I didn't realize was going to be so good about this release, is recently dealing with a customer who needs to do wholesale invoices out of Vend. They're a heavy retail store. Retail is their main business. They have a lot of online sales, so Shopify is connected to Vend, and we've got all that going and all that integration working well. And then, so Shopify talks to Vend, and then Vend talks to Xero. But then their wholesale invoices, I didn't want to add another system on, so they've now got the wholesale invoices being created within Vend. So what they need to do first is they need to select the customer. I've got a mental blank as to any of the test customers that are in this file. No, okay. Oh no, there we go. There's me. All right. So what they would do for a wholesale invoice is they would add in the customer name, first of all. Then they'd add in the products. And then let's say this customer, the reason why they're adding in the name is because it's a sell screen. It's not an invoice. So what happens is when you create a sale, when you create a sale within Vend, I'll tell you this bit first and the rest will make sense. When you create a sale in Vend, and then if someone doesn't pay it, but they put it on account, so if they go to pay and then on account, because they're not paying you at this particular time, then an invoice is created instantly in Xero. Not at the end of the day when it closes, but it's created instantly. You still get a receipt for the person if they're standing in front of you to take to them to say this has been put on your account, that they can take away because it's been put onto their account. But because they're not paying you now, instantly an invoice is raised in Vend. An invoice is raised in Xero by Vend, so that therefore you've got a Xero invoice and you have the ability to issue a statement to that person, and your debtors has been all kept up to date. So that's why it can be used for people that have a small wholesale arm. If wholesale was the main reason for the main sales channel for a business, then you'd be looking at something like Unleashed or another inventory solution. For this one, you need to be able to, if it's mostly retail, then you can get around some of these adding on an extra solution with this workaround to do wholesale invoices in here. So what this client of mine has is the fact that they sell overseas. So if I am Jeri Murphy Australia, then you would sell this t-shirt to me and I will pay $4.95 to it. However, if I'm Jeri Murphy and I live in Canada and I'm obviously an Australian company, then you need to delete off the tax so that I don't have to pay tax. So so that's how you can delete off the tax so that the invoice only shows as $4.50, not as the $4.95, and therefore that's what the customer needs to pay. Your inventory is updated because it's in here. So to finish off that sale, you would go pay and then hit on account, and then that will take the t-shirt out of stock, ensure that no tax was charged incorrectly because it's an export sale, and the invoice will show in Xero, which you can then follow up for the payment. Just one thing to know, and I'll do something on this a bit later on, it's definitely going to be included in my Vend Become an Expert course, as all of this will go into detail, but I've got some details there. The main thing, the problem, as with all workarounds, is that when this invoice does go across into Xero, the invoice comes across with all the correct amounts, but it puts BAS excluded, or if you're in New Zealand, no GST, on the tax field, and you can't override that. Even if you have the tax rate as GST-free exports for that customer within Xero, Vend doesn't look at the customer contacts card in order to work out what tax rate it should be using. It just puts BAS excluded because it thinks there's no tax. technically it's wrong, numerically it's not. So yeah, I tell people to update the invoice when it gets into Xero to go from change the tax rate from VAT excluded to GST free exports. Wow, okay, that was a lot of information for you. Hopefully it's all makes sense, and there I don't have any questions loaded up in the thingy. Oh, I have one. I'll answer that one in a second. So feel free, I'll just stop talking for a second. Feel free to load up any questions that you have from the session, or any other questions you have around these solutions, and I'll answer them. Okay, so I've got one question here from during the session, and that question is does GeoUp integrate with Workflow Max? I actually don't know the answer to that question. I'd like to, so let's have a quick look. I know that you could look at this up as well, but as far as I know, off the top of my head, it doesn't. Or at least I've definitely never heard anyone using it. And if they were, why would they want to? Because GeoUp manages, generally they pick one or the other, because GeoUp gives you the ability to manage the jobs out on the road. It gives you the quotes, it gives you the invoicing functionality that Workflow Max would give you, and it gives you the job costing. A common one might be GeoUp doesn't, I've talked about this before, GeoUp doesn't often, it doesn't give you the ability to handle ongoing jobs. So such as a job that might take 6 months, it's very hard to manage that in GeoOp. It's built for sort of a couple of day jobs at most. That's something that I'm going to work on a little bit, because it's been asked it quite a lot as to how to get, how to use it for some of those bigger things, and if it's even possible to try and sort of work it around. So usually you're picking GeoOp or Workflow Max. Looking at the integrations, these are the main integrations here. Where are they? Yeah, so the product features, they've got Xero, FreshBooks, Unleashed, NZPM. That's all about GeoOp and Unleashed together with Xero. And then the Navman, Website Builder, and iAuditor. No, I'm pretty sure they don't. They don't, and yeah, you would only be picking one or the other. If we were using both, it would be because GeoUp doesn't do the ongoing big jobs, and Workflow Max doesn't do the little jobs and the mobile thing very well on all the other bits and pieces and the maps and all the pretty things that GeoUp does. So you might have longer jobs that you would manage in Workflow Max. So yeah, you could have Workflow Max and GeoUp both being used in separate areas, separate departments, and both connected to Xero. There's no issue with that, but I don't think they talk to each other. So, okay. I don't have any other questions there. If anybody else does have any other questions, please do so now, because otherwise I can't think of anything else to talk about, because I've just told you lots of stuff. I wouldn't know where to start next. So yeah, I'll leave you a few more minutes to put any further questions in that you have, and if not, thank you very much for attending, and I will see you next time. Excellent. There's one question here. The Xero portion, I do have a replay. Last November, unfortunately, I had a complete fail with my recording, and unfortunately none of it recorded, but hopefully at this stage, yes. At this stage I definitely have a replay and a backup replay, so all going well, I will email it to you after the session so you can grab all that Xero information as well. I'll also put it on YouTube for the others that can't make it they can't make it. Excellent. If there's no other questions, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next month if I don't need to help you beforehand.